Our next presenter is Nestor Angulo. Nestor is a technology enthusiast, computer science engineer, and web security geek. He also loves to travel. Although based in Spain, you can find him learning from other cultures and meeting people where an internet connection is available, always with a mug of coffee or black tea. Nestor worked in the incident response department at Security and at GoDaddy Web Security from 2015 through 2023, and it is there where he acquired tons of knowledge about hackers, malware, and strange cases which he liked to study in depth, just as a CSI would, or aka security analyst. Now he's continuing his journey for a more secure world with the amazing team of PatchStack. Nestor's talk is titled, But Then, is WordPress secure or not? The trial of developers and web designers against WordPress begins. Silence in the room, everybody. A human-made piece of software cannot be perfect by definition. Depending on your case or your tolerance, you can consider that something more than 90% certainty is what we consider safe or not. Security in WordPress, like everything in real life, is made up of layers, and it will be how you organize those layers, depending on your needs, that will make your WordPress site more or less secure. With the aesthetic of an American courtroom movie, we will try to give a verdict on whether or not WordPress is secure, explaining what security is, what WordPress does about it, and what we should try to do ourselves to increase that level of security of our own sites. If attendees have questions for Nestor, please put them in the chat and we will talk about them in the Q&A after the talk. But without further ado, let's bring him on. Nestor, welcome. Appreciate you showing up to Stellar Spark. How are you doing?
Hey, John, thank you very much for bringing me here. So I'm super happy to be here, but honestly, here is like evening, so you are in the morning full of charge, full of energy, but here is a little bit still mid energy, so let's see how it goes.
No worries, no worries. I will be bringing up Nestor's presentation on screen, and for that, take it away.
Yeah, cybersecurity is a little bit difficult to explain, so that's why I prefer to go through slides and a presentation. So welcome everybody. As I mentioned, this is gonna be about cybersecurity. This is something very super common that people is concerned about, is about security. Also, being like a security geek since 10 years ago, there is a recurrent question everybody does with to me. This is WordPress secure or not? So this is something we will try to evaluate today in some kind of judge. So we will try to evaluate some parameters and then give some responses on how WordPress try to solve these issues or solve these, let's say, parameters, right? So then at the end, we will give a verdict. So let's get into it, right? So this is trial hearing day today. So the defender and the prosecutor, will be me because I would like to have another guy here that gives the counter, but it's me. So let's present the defendant. WordPress is our defendant at this point. So let's start. First of all, we have to define what security factors we will try to evaluate in order to say if WordPress is secure or not, right? So what means secure in this scenario, right? So one of them is protection of the content and information. So does this CMS protect the content of the information? Does it share information with third-party companies? Is hard in pen testing and has some kind of support to HTTPS connections? Does it have some roles and permissions management? This CMS support system or developers behind it do rapid fix when there is a bug or a security vulnerability, and there is an easy and frequent maintenance, update system. And is there any kind of support, quick and effective support there? So these are the three things I would like to evaluate, right? So just before that, let's talk about what is security. I always try to put this image in your mind, right? Like this onion, because security is not just one thing. It's not a whole a word that means something. It's just a matter of layers that is separated in the whole process of connecting from your device to the website and getting the information from there, right? Also in the interactions. So the layer starts from you. You are the weakest layer. Is what we say always in cybersecurity, that you are. I mean, user is the weakest layer because it can be tampered. It can be uh, it can be sleeping. It can be used. So, for example, today there was a guy some days ago, or yesterday I think, that released a patch, and today we had a lot of problems, the technology problems, because this guy released the patch and it was incompatible with some operating systems. So, persons, human beings, the weakest layer, right? So after that, we use a device that has to be secure. Also, the connection we use for getting into the website. Then there is traffic coming to the website. Then there is a credentials we use if we get into the website to do something. There is the whole environment website security. The website is in a server, so the server security is also important here. And there is a database where the information is stored, so also needs some kind of security. So the counter for the security of those layers, I mean, what we have to improve for the protection we have to set for protecting all of these layers are in the part of the persons. The human being is giving them knowledge, right? So formation, education. This event itself is a way of sharing knowledge and educated you, or give some answers so you can understand better where you are moving in, right? So for the device, classical one is install an antivirus. For connection, having a SSL or TLS, right, certificate, so you can ensure that the information is being transmitted encrypted. For the traffic, a WAF could be very interesting, which is a website application firewall. It's not a general firewall. It's a firewall specific for web applications. The use of credentials, should be strong password. You should use multi-factor authentication and these kind of things that are, I think, more or less common nowadays. And website security is important that you keep a constant monitoring. Do you use plugins and updates regularly the system itself? The same for the server, more or less the same for the database. But overall, these kind of protections are not once in lifetime, right? So you have to keep up often maintenance on that. So you can make the safest, the most secure site in WordPress or any other technology, but if you don't maintain it, you will be uh, you will be done so for sure in a short time. So what people understand for security, right, is something like this meme, right? There's a lot of people out there. Okay, so all these things can be fixed with just a security plugin. Security plugin is important because normally compounds with a lot of interesting rules and a lot of interesting fixes to the website to make it more secure, but it's not all, right? So secure plugin should be placed here in the website security thing, right? But it's not covering um, the whole how I can say, all the layers, right? That is involved in security. So for me, or for a lot of security experts, security is more like the Swiss cheese, right? It works like the Swiss cheese permeability model, which displays the idea of the defense in depth. So attacks is coming like these red arrows. So if we find ourselves that the holes in our security layers aligns, so the attacks can pass through, so we are done. So it's important to understand that it's not a single intervention needed to assure our security. That we need a lot of layers. Some facts that normally people doesn't really know about security, right? One of them is, I mean, related with WordPress, is that the WordPress cares WordPress as core, WordPress as the developers of WordPress itself cares about the security in the core, right? So we separate here what is WordPress core from what is the rest of the ecosystem, right? So the rest of the ecosystem, plugin, themes, hosting companies, site owners, developers, and so on, the security for that part is delegated on them, right? So this is very important because when we evaluate if WordPress is secure or not, we have to separate what is security on the ecosystem and what is security on the core. But all that, it is important because since we have to delegate security, we have to delegate also the trust, right? The confidence. So one of the rules we all know instinctively is that the more windows and doors we put in a fortress, the harder is to defend it. Okay. Do you also? It's important that you evaluate yourself if you trust in your software vendors. How much do you trust on them, right? This is important that you keep in mind. Is if you install a plugin, you are using a new vendor, and this vendor is do you trust in the team that is behind that new plugin or theme? So trust is our weakest point. We have to delegate, right, responsibility in third party, but it's needed because we want to build upon all this software. So as you can see, and you can find a lot of graphs out there. Year over year, the most used entry point for hacking in the websites is plugins. In the case, for example, you can see there's last year report from Patchstack. There's 96% of the vulnerability comes from plugins, 3% from themes, and core doesn't have that much, right? So we have in a WordPress, we have the WordPress itself, the core, we have the themes, we have the plugins, but also we have embed code, comments, we have content that we put in the website, we have services internally that is internally out of the box from WordPress, which is Gravatar, WordPress.org, information for stats, but also for updates, Google Fonts, YouTube, emojis. So these services are external services that are getting information from us, from every website. If we install any kind of analytics or if we put a firewall, CDN, hosting provider, all of them are affecting to the security of our website. This is a common quote I always put in my presentation because it represents very well how cybersecurity, how's the cybersecurity feeling nowadays, right? There are two types of company: those that have been hacked and those who don't yet know that they have been hacked, right? It's said by John Chambers, the former chief executive officer of Cisco. But I know we're feeling in this situation, right? If we just go land into the earth, we feel like this, dealing with cyber stress. We have some kind of cyber stress, especially, for example, if you are a developer. And we have now a lot of regulations coming in Europe and other countries. So we have to take care a lot about this, and there is a lot of surface of attack, right? We have a lot of things to pay attention to, right? So some facts about security. When there is a hack, almost never is client-oriented. Normally, it's massive hack with a lot of sites on it. Almost always happens because there is a deficient monitoring maintenance. If you monitor your website, you reduce a lot the risk of being hacked. SSL TLS certificates is not anti-hacking shield. This is something I have been asked a lot. Hey, I have HTTPS connection, how I can be hacked, because this only secures the connection between one point and the other, right? So if there is a bad an attacker attacking your website using a HTTPS connection, then the hacking process is happening secure. That's all. Patch and security appears normally after a hacking exploit is discovered. Also, this is very important. Every tool that we are using here is made by human at this point. Maybe in some years it's gonna be made by AI, but at this point it's made by humans. So in Latin we say "rarem manum est," which means human being fails. Right. So security never and nor will be 100% effective. So this is very important. Here you have a list of the most severe vulnerabilities found last year in Patstack. As an example, you can find from other companies. But right now that we know more or less the parameters, we are going to evaluate how WordPress then does in terms of security. So let's put it again. This is the 6 parameters we will try to evaluate. And let's go more or less on them. So about information protection, privacy, and sharing sharing information with third party. How WordPress does. First of all, by default, the sensitive information is encoded and protected in WordPress, which means password and this kind of thing sessions are hashed. By default, WordPress doesn't share any information with third-party companies. I mean, it doesn't sells the information to other companies. However, strong passwords are not enforced, and there is not any multi-factor authentication process in the WordPress itself. So you need a plugin for this. But also, technically, it doesn't protect the privacy of the site, not the information of the site, but the privacy of the site. If you put online a WordPress site, you are, if you are using, for example, avatar emojis or Google Fonts or YouTube videos on it, you are connecting to those services that are external services, so they are getting information that you are alive, what is your IP, and so on. So it's not technically right to say that the privacy is super protected on the WordPress. Just by out of the box, we have all these services. We should disconnect all these services or make them not available into the WordPress to be more private. Also, it doesn't have any kind of native support to GDPR, cookies, or CCPA related regulations. And also, it doesn't have any kind of backup process or auditing tools. This is also important because if we have, for example, an e-commerce in our website and we get a security incident and we get fined by, for example, European Union, European Union Council, right? So how is the only way of making sure that you don't have responsibility on this leak, right? So one of the things is that you have to demonstrate what is the actions happening in your website. So an auditing tool is super important in this situation when there is a security event and there is not audit tools into the core WordPress core. You need a plugin for that, right? So what about roles, permission, and HTTPS? WordPress has roles management and access control, even for the API. That's good. It could be customized and improved using plugins. It's okay. Works smooth over HTTPS, but doesn't force HTTPS by default. Also, if you want to install HTTPS connections or set a force HTTPS connection into the WordPress, you need a plugin, and sometimes some handwork might be needed. Support and maintenance. This is a big green mark because at the end, this is something really working very well in WordPress. WordPress updates are frequent, and there is a clear roadmap out there. We had 6.6 just some days ago and introduced the plugins updating rollback. So if there is an update on a plugin and you feel there is something bad, or maybe the website crashes because of it, because of this, you can roll back on that. So this is super interesting. Open source is open source, so anybody can fix and propose improvement. So it it means that there is a million of potential developers outside there. And as Josefa said in the first session, the WordPress community is one of the biggest in the world, and also it's amazing. It's totally amazing. If you haven't gone to WordCamp still, I really invite you to go there so you can see how the community engage and how the networking works there, how the people collaborate and create ideas, and also how they contribute to WordPress and so on. It's a super healthy community, and it's something I can't explain really, but I think this is the biggest reason why WordPress is still the strongest CMS out there, because the community, the ecosystem around WordPress is absolutely amazing. There is also the support works like a forum and it's multi-language. What about the code quality, and vulnerabilities at the side, right? So WordPress itself, I mean, internally in the core, enforce the code styles and for tests, have a central point to report vulnerabilities, which is very interesting. There is a core dedicated group for WordPress core. There is a security team for that, also for plugin security, and also the committers, the ones who has the right to admit the code goes to production, goes to the next phases, are selected by merit. So those are people normally that has a lot of experience. However, we have found recently that compatibility backwards is a higher priority in WordPress in order to fix vulnerabilities, right? So they don't go directly to fix a vulnerability. They prefer to fix the vulnerability and also study how the compatibility backwards works to not only fix the vulnerability for the current version, but also for the active versions before. This is a good and a bad thing, right? So delay in vulnerability fixing is not good, but taking care of compatibility backward, I think it is. What about features I really miss in terms of security in WordPress? For me, there are a lot of them, but there's some of them are CAPTCHA field to every form, and a feature that give me the potential of banning user because they try a lot of times incorrect credentials, so we can avoid spam and brute force attack easily. Auditing tools, I commented it before, it's something essential that should be in the core as well. More information about abandoned and closed plugins. So one of the things we know is that the major vector of entrance into the websites are plugins or themes that are not that have vulnerabilities on it, right? So there is a lot of plugins outside made by people for free, by volunteers, right? That they have been abandoned. So people install them, but they maybe hasn't received an update in the last 3 years or in the last year, something like that. So it is not really trustful, right? So giving information about what's not only about the last update thing into the WordPress into the WordPress repository and the WordPress.org repository, but having that information in the dashboard in the WordPress itself will be very interesting. Hey, this plugin has been abandoned because there is 2 years without any kind of update, or this is a closed plugin, so you have installed a plugin that has been considered as dangerous or something like that has been closed. So be aware of that. This information I think is important for customers. There is no backups on HTTPS native support, as we said. I mean, it works perfectly through HTTPS protocols, but you have to do it by manually and using a plugin. The same with the backups. It's just have to be done using plugins or maybe relying on hosting providers. More security controls over plugins and themes will be very interesting. I know WordPress is doing this, is putting a lot of effort in this. They are increasing the number of people working in the plugins department and the security of plugins and themes department, and so this will be this won't be a problem anymore in the future, probably. So if you want to know what is a WordPress version of what they are doing about security, just go ahead and use this QR or go for this link, because here you have a brief information of how they do in terms of security. Just keep in mind that all these things are only for core, not for plugins. So for plugins, they have some kind of recommendations, but it's on totally on the developers, on the company, on the vendors that they develop those plugins and themes. So it's something that you have to be aware of that. There's also a lot of regulations coming up, like the CRA, I mean the Cyber Resilience Act, which will affect in the way that not only WordPress but a lot of open source, all the open source out there works, and how they can publish software and so on. And WordPress is part of the Open Website Alliance. They created like a group of for working to see how to deal with the new regulation in terms of open source, especially in the CMS, right, in the content management systems. So they team up with other like Joomla, Drupal, and Typo3 to make a letter and like an alliance in order to enforce to make all these new regulations go in the good way rather to impact in the you know, developers that mainly all of them are uh, volunteers, people that doesn't have a, you know, a salary to do their job, right? So it is super amazing, and it's important for me to mention to you guys that the WordPress is actively getting into these job groups, right? Also, it's important in terms of security to understand how WordPress version is spread, because you can say, okay, 6.6 version is super secure, but it's all the 43% of websites out there using WordPress using the same version. It is not, right? If we evaluate this is just getting this. I got this graph from the WordPress site, WordPress.org site, this morning. So as you can see here, there is a 66.4% that uses 6.6 and 6.5, but the rest of them is a myriad of version. You can see that there is some 4 point something versions WordPress is still there active. Also, the WordPress is not being executed alone. They need some other services around. For example, they need PHP interpreter in the web server. So PHP version is also important. As you can see here, 5.4, which is the last stable version of the branch 5, is considered as vulnerable one. So there's a lot of sites still using it. And also the 8.0, 8.1, 8.2 is are considered also as vulnerable. So there is a lot of people using this version still out there. So my verdict, what I just let's say that we have evaluated these old parameters. We said how WordPress tried to give information, give an answer to this question, to these parameters. So what's my opinion about if it is WordPress secure or not? From my point of view, yes, if it is updated, if the WordPress installation you do is using the last updates, you can consider yourself at least some kind of secure. When I say secure, it's not 100% secure. You are not going to get any kind of hack. It's just a percentage, a high percentage of security, or what is said in another way, or rephrasing it, a low probability or a low risk of being hacked, right? So this is all about security. It's all about minimizing the risk of getting hacked. So just get it this WordPress is secure if it is updated, and out of the box is secure. I mean, only applying what is in WordPress core. In the moment we install plugins and so on, we just can't defer. So why this then? This is got from Suguri last year report about malware threats and hack websites. So you can see that they receive 95% of cases of hack sites are from WordPress, and the rest of the CMS aren't. So this is a pretty common question I get. Why you say WordPress is secure if it is the most hacked one, right? So, but it's also the most used one. So I got this morning from WB3 Tech's website where analyzes the uses of technologies around the world, and you can see here we reach as WordPress community we reach the 43% of the whole internet and the 62% of the share of the marketing share if we are talking only about CMSs, right? So the following is probably if we assume the rest of the last of the following 10 other competitors here, we probably won't get that much, right? So that's why we, as WordPress, get hacked so easily. It's mainly because it's the most used out there, but also because it's extremely easy to create an insecure WordPress. As I said, we can consider as secure out of the box, but after that, it's super easy to insecure a WordPress installation. So one of the things I would like to get from WordPress core out of the box is to get a more uh, how I can say more guided process of or more enforced techniques to not make that easy to make an insecure WordPress, right? So not allow any kind of WordPress passwords, get second factor authentication by default, forced HTTPS, making allowing some kind of backward to go to a not secure connection just in case you want to test or something like that. But enforcing or guiding a little bit more into the I mean from WordPress to do this kind of good practices in security is something I really miss. So at the end, you have to trust in plugins, and trusting in plugins, as you can see, plugins are the most used entry point for attacks. As you probably can spot because it's super common. There are a lot of people out there that use the admin user with the name of and the password admin123 on this kind of easy to remember password. I really invite you guys to get into the Wikipedia and get there's an article there, the 10,000 most used passwords. So you can see there like a list of 10,000 passwords, and probably some of you that you don't take very seriously about the password, you can find your password or similar password there. So if you find your password, exact password there in that list, bad luck. You have to change it right now. Also, there is a lot of people that, in order to avoid licenses or this kind of things, installs plugins from not official repository or use freemium that nothing is free out there, or they download plugins from weird sites. Just keep in mind that nothing is free, right? And also they don't use any kind of HTTPS connection. So this is also something for the previous century, right? We have to be careful about that. Also, I want to mention, just for finishing, the believer risk, right? So believe that there is a perfect cheap hosting out there. Believe that the security is only for paranoids and or others are in charge of it, and the belief of that your site is or content is not interesting for any cyber criminal. I'm just talking about my shit, so why this would be interesting for any other? It will be. So I always end with this one. Everybody needs a hacker. It's something hacker or hacking is the process of being beyond the rules, beyond the limits, beyond uh, what is previously stated as at the end, right? So hackers makes the world go forward. So I invite to all of you not only to need to have hackers around, but also to have some kind of curiosity, because having curiosity, we are hacking the future. So thank you very much, and open for questions right now. Hopefully you get some good tips from my lecture, and that's all